Go ahead.
Twitter. Has anybody a Twitter? Twitter. Twitter. This is what it looks like. And you're a big Twitterer. The puns are so I just can't go there. You can sign up for an account, and I'll read it because I don't know if you can read it from that far. I would not be able to, even with these. What are you doing? You have 140 characters?
Yeah, 140 characters, which is, by the way, the number of characters you can have, the maximum limit you can have for an SMS or a text message. Okay, and that's why, because it's a text message tool.
You type it in there, and yeah, people sign up to get your Twitter messages. It will create, I'm trying to think if this is, I actually set myself up with one, but when someone goes to your Twitter page, they'll see all of the comments that you've made throughout the day, month, week, whatever it is, but they can also see it through cell phone, through the PDA, through everything like that, through IM, through anything. And you've got an RSS feed, so they can subscribe to it using your feed reader, or they can just read it on basically it's a Twitter blog. But it combines all these different technologies, and the interesting aspect of it is the text messaging, because it's a mobile, increasingly our communications are going mobile, time shifting and mobile. So you got to think about that when did you have a question?
Can you upload your address?
No, I don't think so.
Can you upload your address book?
Yeah, I don't think so, but you invite people to it, and so they can subscribe. Sorry.
No, go ahead, because will you drive for a second? I just have two examples. Drive. Yeah. The two examples that I came up with. One, I could have used yours. Oh, maybe I have to click again. This is a friend of mine, Garrick, who Twitters all the time. I mean, this is like 4 hours. He Twitters quite often. And now you'll love who I use next, Rick B. This is a good user. Other. Mine, 3 messages. And so I have to love, because I've been trying. I have a weekly email newsletter that I do, newsletter and blog that I send out. And I sent an article last week about Twitter, and I was amazed. And it's not a huge, I don't know, what do I have, 100, 150 people who get it. I don't do a lot of promotion for it. I sent it out, and I sort of said, well, this is Twitter, and this is what you can do. What I had said was it was a very quick blog entries for the lazy. That's how I described it. But it's, which I think that's fair enough.
Sure.
It's one definition for it. And I said, I'm working on a really good business application for it. 4 people wrote back. And, I might get 1 or 2 people who email back after I send out an article. One was like, I am so with you. What the heck are people doing? 3 of them, I love Twitter. But I have to say, no one came up with what I really thought was the definitive business application for it. Except maybe you could do brainstorming with it if you were all working remotely. The thing that I do like about it, and I work from home, is I like any tool that's going to help you feel like you're in the room with more people, i.e. your clients, so that they feel like you're always with them. So I do like it from that perspective. And then I think if you go to the next screen, I try to come up with some really good, project brainstorming for organizing different people. The Twitter, I think that it gained a lot of popularity at the South by Southwest event, concerts, whatever you want to call it. And I could see the application there, where you could sort of say, hey, this band's really good, get here now. If you had that real-time kind of communication. From that perspective, I could see it go really well at a conference sort of thing, from the same perspective.
Well, among my titles is I co-publish a newsletter called Politics in Minnesota. We cover Minnesota politics, obviously, and so I think of this in political terms. I can see parties using this to mobilize get out the vote efforts for all their people on the ground. I can see. I think we're going to use it for the GOP convention in town, when it comes in town for 2008, and I think we'll get a ton of journalists subscribing to it, because you can just post real-time updates at the event. The New York Times has a Twitter, and they send out daily, headlines. So you can basically, if you need to be on top of the news, you can do it with that. The primary use of Twitter up to date has been friends, keeping in touch with one another.
Well,
I'm at Stub and Herb's, come on over, whatever.
Instead of parties mobilizing, I would think mobilizing for parties.
Yep.
That's kind of when I came up. I was like, has it been there when I was 18? Wow.
And then you read some of these, and they're just, I'm over here, or I'm bored, or it's just, nobody would want to read it except your friends, But if you get creative, I think there's a lot of things that you could do with it.
I think I came up with a few, and people were helping me coming up with some of these interesting. Communicating time-sensitive information, keeping in touch from afar. My neighbor, their daughter is in Spain right now. I spent a year in Spain. I spent a couple years in London, a couple years in Ireland. Then I think that it would have been fun to keep in touch a little bit with people back home. And that would have been a good time. Quick checkups. Really, even when I wrote this, I'm like, or check-ins when my kids are a little older. Where are you? Where are you now? Kind of thing. So I thought, but I think that it does make sense when you are really working on a project and then feeling like you're not alone. I thought that would be. But I have 3 kids. I would like to feel alone. So I think that's a part of it. And that's outlet for your chatty workmate, client, or significant other. I work with somebody at Griff Wigley. I don't know if you do any work with him.
I know.
He set up blogs in bars, and I thought that is brilliant because I worked at a bar for 10 years. Like, you could have chatty guy working on the blog. Now you could have chatty guy here you go, have my Twitter account. I'll catch up with you later. Let me serve my drink. But I think that it is there. I mean, when you think of it from the conferences, and I knew that you would come up with some good uses for me. I think it's also becoming more ubiquitous. I mean, with all of these tools. I mean, I think that they are, and it's something that people need to think about when they're making plans for.
It's also a thing that when you are formulating a message, you define who your audience is, and you do the demographics and everything, and find out what people are using. And a lot of young people are using Twitter. So if that's your demographic, that's an excellent outlet to target that audience. You got to know how people are consuming their information and what they're consuming it on. So text messaging is natural for.
I think it's just enough time for you to Twitter the answer to the test.
I'll Twitter while you talk.
Yes. So that's. But will you press one more?
Yes, I will.
Oops. Oh, let me go back one in case
Sorry.
I think I had a. Oh, maybe it didn't come through. That's okay. We're online.
Are we?
Yeah.
Very good.
I think this is a super quick thing to show you. Twitter Vision. This is what somebody sent me to say that Twitter is really useful. What I like about it is that it's a Google mashup. Is it Google mashup? Does that make most people know? Well, hopefully we'll be seeing it here very soon. What it is you get a Google map of the world. And every time somebody Twitters and they've allowed for their Twitter messages to be public, you can set them as private or lots of different priorities from that perspective. Oh, we can't do it. Yeah. It'll be more fun to watch it live. The Twitter messages come up across the map, so you can see all the really valuable information that people are sharing. The thing I have to say that I did kind of like about it is that it's in all different languages. So that was really a bit, Sorry, it's going to take a little while. So here we go, and we'll just, editing photos. There's so many. Somebody from California. Bienvenido a las tres, Maybe that was Los Stray Jackets. Maybe this is useful. My favorite band. I mean, this is what I just think is so. I truly can see at a conference. I mean, if I was at South by Southwest and send Twitter all the ska bands, I can see some of that. But then I see some of this and I go, wow, there's so many people with so much time.
I'd originally thought of using it as a place where I can jot down just quick ideas that I have before I lose them, and a place I can just archive and go back to later. And
that occurred to me too. If you could just kind of like the bookmarks, but with little notes. So yeah, and then very quickly, this is the Google mashup. Do you recognize this as being a Google map? And the Twitter has the open API code, and I'm not going to go too much into that, but because of that, then you can kind of create this sort of tool.
The idea of mashup is just mashing up two different things. Combining two different technologies is basically what a mashup is. And again, the glue that holds all this together is the RSS feed. That's what's supplying the content from Twitter onto the Google map.
Your nonprofit information from getting lost amongst all this junk.
Target.
Search engine optimization, yeah. You know, because I think that's what makes sense is you try to figure out who needs to get your message, where are they, what are they looking for now, and figure out how to be in that place.
Micro marketing. I mean, you really want to target as narrowly as possible the audience. You really have to start with defining your audience, and then go out and find them. But the great thing about it is you can find them with all these tools.
Mm-hmm. So one example that I had, and I couldn't get enough information. Now I'll pretend like I know anything about it. But with the Flickr, there was a Flickr Google Map mashup, a Google Flickr mashup with an organization in the UK, and the project was called Be the Full Stop being period in the UK. So it was, be the full stop. We're going to end poverty, and this is it. Is I couldn't find enough about the story to really try to share it with you. But people did is they took a picture of themselves in the middle of a period, in the middle of a full stop, and they sent it in. So I donated my 10 pounds. Here I'm the full stop, and then they can put it on the map. They're then one of these little blips on the map, and they can send it to their friends and say, "Hey, I just subscribed." And what it does is it helps. The Be the Full Stop people, sorry, I just know this much about it. They set up this forum for people to do it, knowing that their clientele would know what Flickr was, and they'd be able to take advantage of it. So they knew that they were somewhat tech savvy. But it helps the people who are doing this. They now have a reason to email their friends to say, "I gave 10 pounds. You could give 10 pounds. I give $100. You could give." I guess it's euros now, isn't it? Whatever.
I use dollars.
Whatever. But in some ways, it's giving your constituents a reason and a way to help share your mission, or using their voice to help. But it's getting more people connected. I think it's dealing with those networks. It was so funny, and I thought about it. I think it was Time Magazine last night, and the article was actually on how many people make purchases based on word of mouth. And big companies are paying, no they're not, they're getting people to volunteer to do word of mouth marketing. And even when I laughed when I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, David just has a much better life. I'm working, I'm cleaning up after a kid. I'm working, I'm cleaning up after a kid. There's no life there. So
Yes.
How old are these technologies?
Damn, how long has YouTube's probably been around for 2 years?
I was going to say 2 years.
Yeah, Flickr is longer, maybe 3. They're all relatively new. Twitter's brand new.
Twitter's pretty new, and I think that... sorry?
I thought when you brought up the Twitter vision, it said 2007.
Oh, 2007. I think so, because I think Twitter is owned by the Odeo people. I may be getting some of this confused, but it was fascinating when I was doing some of the research. I was saying, you use these things when a client needs them. It's so rare that you have the chance to step back and really kind of do some of the research on it. What were some of the things that Ustream? You know about Ustream? Mm-hmm. Ustream,
With YouTube, how big can you make your video?
Good question. Yeah, 14 minutes. 14 minutes is how long, and I think it's only 100 megabytes. But if you have you can sign up for a director's account, which you don't really need any qualifications for, but it allows you to upload longer videos and larger videos, and it produces higher quality videos too.
Well, and this Ustream was one that they do video, and they'll do real-time video, and then there was one guy who just had a camera pasted to his forehead. His tape in his life, he had done 28 days. And what's funny is you don't see him, you see all around him. So my guess is he's 24. You know, I'm engaging, and I thought you'd never want to go on a date with that guy. That's, you know, but it was to see all the funny, and then I think it swings to the one end where you see kind of some of the extreme uses, but it doesn't take long for those extreme uses for somebody to say, well, if we could, wouldn't it be valuable to do a day in the life of one of our constituents? You know, a day in the life of somebody who has a visual disability, or the day in the life of somebody who has taken the nickel and dimed approach, a day in the life of somebody who's earning minimum wage. And I think that knowing that all of these are there kind of helps you get creative with some of it. And a lot of them are pretty low cost. And very often I'm working with the sesquicentennial. Didn't Hamline just celebrate the sesquicentennial? So everybody should know that's the 150th birthday of Minnesota. And one of the reasons that we're using the Google mashup, or the Google Calendar, which David will talk about in a couple minutes, is because the Google Calendar is pretty free. So it really behooved us to take a look at, is this going to be a good solution for what we're doing? So a lot of these tools, so often when they're cutting it, they're cheap or they're free, and therefore they fit your budget. Imagine that, which I think is as compelling a reason as some of the other things that we're talking about. You can do them. So that's.
Slash T doesn't really go.
Are you? Oh.
So why would you Twitter privately as opposed to just send your friends text?
Oh. It's easier to subscribe to it because you can actually subscribe to it. I subscribed to the New York Times one. It was pretty neat. Actually, Twitter is called a tweet. So Twitter is the service. An individual message is a tweet. So I was getting tweets from the New York Times with headlines throughout the day, and it was pretty cool. I can see the application, but I unsubscribed because I don't really need headlines all throughout the day.
Throughout the day.
No. So I am giving a Web 2.0 presentation to brilliant Hamline students. I just blog.
There you go.
Absolutely simple.
There you go. I think one nice thing is that you do have that archive. So you can go back to it and you can say, all right, when did I do it? Now, if you are called into court on anything that's happening right now, you will be able to say, clearly I was in the class.
Well, I think that's an interesting thing, though, because the camera phones have sort of gotten the citizen journalism thing going. When the bombing in the Tube in London, there were. The first thing out was camera phone pictures of what was going on. I can see Twitter being used in the same capacity of.
Oh yeah, in the bill. I was thinking that you might see it. Sadly from Virginia Tech today.
Yeah.
I mean that would be one of the things that you'd think that maybe they would.
Do you have to be logged in to get the messages, or can you get them to your email?
Well, you subscribe to the Twitter. You go to the Twitter page and subscribe to it, and you have the choice of getting it through your phone on text messages, or you can subscribe to the RSS and get it through your feed reader, like Loglines, or you can get it in IM. So you get an IM message whenever somebody posts.
So the other application I think is keeping an eye on people that who are possibly doing research or in your field, and you want to know what they're working on early on. That was another good application that Rick came up with.
Very good. Yep.
So Twitter in a nutshell.
Any other Twitter
And now I'm
questions?
trying to think of what's next. What could be next? Oh, Bill, yeah.